Hello, everyone. Again, hope you're doing well. Hope things are working out for you the way you expected, or better than you expected, or at a reasonably acceptable level. Either way, I hope you're happy, because that's really the main point of life, isn't it? Not to all cost, but just to be reasonably happy in a way that you will not infringe on other people's happiness or freedom, and you can gain your freedom and happiness. I had an email from one of our friends from Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. uh, and he was saying that he was in a relationship of 1 year with a girl, a presentable girl, good looking girl that he mentioned that he liked. To him, everything was exactly the kind of things that he would want in a woman, beautiful and all the rest of it. And that she wanted to have a higher education, become a doctor, and all that so forth. So all that was appealing to him. And he said that they were, you know, okay from the beginning, and then they moved in together. Or he moved into a bigger place, and she could move in with him. And a few months later, then they had difficulties, and then there were trust issues, and he wasn't feeling that he's being reciprocated, like he wouldn't receive as much as he's putting in. Like he would spend money, he would do whatever he can, he would try to treat her wonderfully, but he wasn't getting the other part of the partnership. It was like, as he explains in his email, it was like if he was expected to give the services or these provide whatever he was providing, and there wasn't much coming from the other side. Then they talked it over, they got better and so on, but eventually there was some feelings that he wasn't feeling things are right. So he tried to look into what's going on, and he noticed that there's still connections between the girlfriend and the ex girlfriend's ex and things like that, maybe verbally or whatever. But again, it created more of a trust issue. And then he told her that he looked into, her Facebook and things like that to find out, and what he found out, stuff like that. So they had a argument on that, why he looked at it and all that. So the whole thing got out of hand. Eventually, apparently, as I understand it, she's moved out because he got mad, or then they worked it out again. But he's now paying for some kind of a accommodation for her somewhere else that she can have. She's having another female roommate, but he's paying for the apartment. That's where we are anyway. That's the story. And he's wondering if he has, as he puts it in his email, he is fucked up, and if he could have done better by doing something different, that this wouldn't end up with a breakup. Well, and he wants me to give an opinion on it. There's really not much for me to say other than the fact that let's examine the relationship, not the actual details of the relationship. Let's see the thing as a whole. It seems to me that he was providing. So when someone providing so much at the beginning of a relationship, the question comes to the mind of the third party, or to the mind of the girl. Like if I'm looking at it from the distance, I'd say, why was he providing everything? What was the commitment from the other side? Had she shown a certain character, or certain promises, or certain potential, or certain, I don't know, feeling that this is going to be a serious relationship, that she's going to reciprocate, she's going to work towards her own half as far as uh, playing the part of half of the relationship, or is she going to be there just to enjoy a free ride and have comfortable life and attend to her goals? So in other words, the guy would become a stepping stone or a place for her to rest her feet, and when she's needing to do whatever she has to do, she'll go and do it and then come back and rest. It was a resting place, I guess. I mean, it looks that way to me, because if she wasn't reciprocating, if she wasn't giving you as much as you would expect a girlfriend to give, and she also denied you intimacy for a month for because she was upset or you guys had a fight or something, um, all of that means a little bit of a one-sidedness. It's heavier on one-sided relationship. In other words, somehow she got the idea that she's the better part of the relationship. So she expected you to do, and whatever you did, it wasn't like she would appreciate it. She would think it's her right. Perhaps she thought, oh, I'm beautiful, or this and that, or the guy, she thought that you like her so much. So to her, it was like from the position of power, not an equal footing, equal setting. She felt like she can get whatever she wants. And you said that she wasn't from Argentina, she was from another neighboring country. And so she wanted to do whatever she wanted to do, but she also wanted you to guarantee her a, an apartment, and that would be the only way she would still be in contact with you. I guess that's what I understood. It seems to me it's an off balance relationship right off the bat. You can't be buying a relationship. And if you end up finding yourself that you're putting too much into a relationship in order to get a little bit back, unless it's a serious long-term relationship, or you guys about to get married, or you've been together for a good while and you've known each other and seen how you behave with each other and complement each other, then I think it would be like buying a relationship. And the person who's being on the other side of the relationship realizes that you're paying for everything. That means you want her so bad, so much, that perhaps she can even shit on your head and you'll say, oh, okay, no problem, it was an accident. God knows how was it an accident. She flew up there. That's beside the point. You figure that out. But what I'm trying to say is that it is unnatural to provide more than it's normal. You would lose your own respect in her mind. I'm not saying don't do good things for your girlfriend. Of course, why not? Who better than them if they're worth it, if they deserve it, if they're good enough also to you in every way? Both of you should be good to each other. And if that is the case, why not? You do as much as you can for each other. But if it's just like you're, you're smitten with her and you want to do these things to satisfy yourself, then we gotta get in there and see why. Sometimes boys do this because they think that is how they can show their value to the girl, as if they have no other value, and the only way they can get her attention is by giving her something, doing something for her, becoming a little bit of a gopher, or becoming some kind of a slave, or, or a butler, or a provider. Because you want to feel good about yourself. And you think, and sometimes you feel like, okay, this girl doesn't have much going for her. She's alone here. Maybe if I help her, consider her as a project, and be nice to her, then I feel good about myself. And maybe that's a self-respect or self-value issue that you're trying to satisfy by doing something so wonderful for somebody. Okay, she's pretty and you like it, and we boys really like that kind of a situation. But you also want to feel good about yourself because you're doing something wonderful for somebody else who can't do it for herself. So you're providing a service. Now you're not a boyfriend anymore. You're a sugar daddy. You kind of creating an environment for her to do what she wants to do, which is great, but not at such a short-term relationship. Who cares that you're 33 or 32 and she's 26? It still doesn't mean you're supposed to be paying for her education or paying for her apartment or paying for everything, food and this and that. Okay, you can do a lot of that, but balanced. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. What's the qualification for that? Is she your wife? Is she your fiancée? Is she a long-term girlfriend? Then how are you going to distinguish between this girl that you're going to do all these good things for and the girl that would be with you for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, and serious relationship, and you're going to do the same things for her too? So what's the difference now? Anybody who comes along the road, you're going to do the same things for her just because they've got a nice pair of legs or they look good or whatever. You feel like privileged that they're with you. I mean, these are things that make you feel not so good about yourself while you're doing something good to feel good about yourself. You're doing something good for someone and you expect that would make you feel good about yourself. But at the same time, you know that she's there, not just all for you, because you will never be sure, because you're doing all these things for her. So you will have a question in your mind. Is she really staying there for me or for what I'm doing for her? So she can do her own plans. And this is another thing you got to consider. So these are things you got to consider. I'm not here to give you any answer, but I'm here to give you a bunch of questions and you can answer it. And on that basis, that would be my answer. It seems to me that many of us at one age or another, and some of us stop this and some of us continue doing the same thing for the rest of their lives, we look at a girl with the physical eye. And as long as she has the nice pair of leg and the body and the face and beautiful hair and nose and high heels and whatever else that she does with herself, it's all physical. And when we look at the physical eye, we're satisfied, we're enticed, and we're boys. We like, good looks of a woman, and it affects us. And because physically we become satisfied in our eyes, suddenly we think that she's everything that we wanted. But really, what is she made out of? We discussed this in other videos. What makes a person? Other than the consciousness and the contents of the consciousness and fragments of the contents of the consciousness and so on and so forth that we talked about before. Other than that, what is it that we are made out of? We're not all physical being, are we? We're a physical being with spirit, with ki, with mind and body. So when we look at the body, the physical part, that's the body, and we're satisfied with the look and all that, how can we say that now she's everything that we ever wanted in life? Because we don't know the other part of her. We just said we're made out of mind and the body. We just don't know what's in her mind, how she thinks, what are her qualities. So we only judged and made our choice based on what we saw physically and we liked it, and therefore we thought it's great without knowing the other half. It's like, seeing a car and it's a beautiful car, but without knowing how the engine works, you feel, okay, that's perfect, let's, get in the car and drive. And that would be the car that can get us from wherever we want to go to wherever we want to go. The right vehicle, right choice. Of course, I'm not comparing women with cars. It's just a way to get the point across. I'm sure you understand. It seems to me that we don't focus on the Force. I mean, you guys have all, I'm sure, seen Star Wars. And in there, they're talking about learning this inner ability, the energy, the key, Force. So what about her Force? Did you understand? Did you see her Force? Did you understand what she's all about, which is inside her? That's what I'm trying to get at. Or did you just look at her face and you decided, well, What's inside her, the mentality, the consciousness, the key, the energy, all that is good too. How could we do that? You're a magician if you can do that. So you decided that everything about her is exactly as you wanted without really knowing the big half of her, the most important part of her, which is what's in there, what's her heart, how she thinks, how she behaves, what she expects. And when you started giving her this kind of services that you did you also ask her that she's going to respond to it the way you want her to respond for the parts that you're playing? No, you assume. You assume that if you're going to give her all these things, she is going to be the kind of girlfriend that you expect her to be, right? That's pretty much doesn't make sense, does it? Because you assume everything is an assumption. So, in a given business contract, you can't be doing something and expecting the other side to do the right thing without having it written out and both agreed to it and signed it. So that contract is null and void because you assumed it. There's nothing in writing. In this case, you never discussed it with her. You never asked her, okay, listen, if we're doing this, are you my girlfriend? I mean, or at least you didn't wait enough for it to become apparent that she wants you. From the beginning, probably it was a good interaction, a good maybe startup, but you start giving all these things, then from then on, you never knew if she wants you or she's really with you because of all the things you're doing for her. So that is a problem in a relationship. And that's what started. You were feeling that. That's what started the feeling of the trust issue, and you don't not trusting her, and she's lying to you, and of course she did, as you said. And that means she obviously was enjoying the ride to get to her own destination, whatever she had in mind, rather than being a team. In your mind, you were helping her, and she was going to be a doctor, whatever, and then everything was going to be mutual. But in her mind, obviously, she said, "No, okay, I'm pretty, and he's paying for it, and I'm, his girlfriend, and okay, I'll give her a little bit whenever, whatever I want. I'm in control, and then I get my stuff and get where I want to go, and then eventually I probably, kick him in the butt and say bye bye." This is what it seems to me, because if this girl at age 26, she is that detail oriented and manipulating or planned it carefully, so she's after her own comfort and what she can get out of it, which is not a balanced relationship. I don't know her. I am not trying to cut her down or put her down. I'm just going about it from what I've read from your email. But this is how it looks to me. And you also seem to be, many of us seem to be thinking about a woman, thinking about how a woman is or was in the past or now in the present by what she wants to do in the future. So when they come out and say, "I want to be a doctor," suddenly you think she has a plan, she has it organized, she wants to be a doctor, and because the profession of being a doctor is a very precise and scientific and detailed and careful study and all that so forth. So suddenly you think of her as this kind of a person who has everything figured out, organized, so on and so forth, as the science of medicine would be, as a doctor's profession would describe to you, the image of a doctor suddenly. So what she said she wants to become suddenly made you think of her as that precise in her past, in her behavior, in their presence, and therefore, but you were surprised when it seemed like not exactly so. So I think there are a few mistakes that have been made here. And if you could have behaved better, well, I don't know. But what did you want to do? Roll in front of her and have her walk on you, or what else? You've provided in place for her, you've fed her, you've taken care of her, you've been nice to her, all that, but it's not panning out, and obviously she's not. And I wonder, why are you paying for her apartment? What the hell is that? Are you thinking nobody else is going to be have a chance to be with you, or you won't have a chance to be with anybody else, that you have to kind of put yourself under such a burden. What is this? How far are you going to go to have her, or how long are you going to let her, string you along? It doesn't make sense to me. So I think perhaps it is the way it has to be. She has moved out, whether because of your request or her request or whatever, however it turned out. I really think you should figure it out in your own mind why you're paying for her if there's no relationship. And I'm not saying if there's a relationship you should pay for it, and if there's not, you shouldn't pay for it. Well, if you're wealthy and you want to be good to people, well, then there are lots of other needy people that can really take your money and have a life, rather than someone who is apparently so well, capable, beautiful, whatever, and she's smart enough to get you following uh, her shoes, so she can do that anywhere, I guess. So, bottom line is that it's maybe your fortunate day that this have gone the way it has, so you can now go on and find a suitable mate for yourself. That's pretty much what I wanted to share with you as the answer for your question. I hope that is helpful. Um, there's not much to say other than be good to yourself, and you don't need to do what doesn't need to be done for someone to feel good about yourself or to have their approval. And the beautiful look and everything is wonderful, but that's not what keeps them to be uh, your champion, or who you want them to be, or you hope them to be. You got to be a package, inside and out. So get to know the person, the whole of the person, not just the physical end, and find out what makes them tick. And then together, inside, outside, consciousness, mind, power, the force, the energy, mentality, manners, reciprocation, fairness, communication, trust, all of that, then you may know part of that person. Have a nice evening, and talk to you guys.